Hi, it's Buxton. Welcome to Construction Surveying Tutoring, where we get to learn construction. Over the past few sessions, we've had a privilege to look into various ways in which we can build bills of quantities from the start, from scratch using Excel to the finish. So far so good, we've covered quite a ground, and today I would like us to do, from what we've done in reinforcement steel, I would like us now to learn how to do the assortment, because that is what is going to be entered into the bills of quantities, where we now assort the quantities of steel measured depending on the diameter. That is what the rule is guiding us to do. Once we finish that, then we look into formwork into various elements of the items that whose concrete we've measured. So that is the plan. Welcome to this session. For the new viewers, please make a subscription, because this is where we get to learn the way it's supposed to be. My returning viewers, returning members to this channel, words can't express how much grateful I am. Continue supporting me, because that is what I ask of you, and this channel will also give back time tenfold. You'll get to benefit from it very, very much. So from what we've done, we were just doing the reinforcement bars, where we get to see how to measure them. For any of the catch-up videos that you might want to get, this channel, the description of this very video is going to include a link to the playlist that is showing you all the catch-up videos that we've learned so far. When you want to assort, because in our bills of quantities, there is that part that is supposed to show us what are now the quantities that you've got in various elements. You see, we have very many elements in these in the bills of quantities. Okay, and talking of elements, let's just see some of those that we have measured, and then after that, let me just do this. So, looking into the various items or the various elements in which the reinforcement steel have been measured, you see there are quite a number, including columns. We also have beams, we have the suspended slab, okay, we also have the roof, we have the staircase, and also the landings. So there is a provision in the standard methods of measurements that is giving us a room that instead of stating that this is now T8 in landing, then we have another T8 in steps or in staircases, instead of that, we are allowed to simply state T8 reinforcement bars, as long as you've categorized your work. For instance, here we've already categorized them into superstructure concrete works. Okay, so whenever we measure the reinforcement steel under that, it's going to be understandable that we are assorting the reinforcement steel under the superstructure concrete works. Okay, so we'd rather categorize the reinforcement steel according to the diameter or according to the sizes, rather than according to the various specific elements in which they occur. Okay, that is just a brief summary of what we have provided in the standard methods of measurements of how to go about the reinforcement steel once you've done the quantities. Okay, so in this case, as usual, now this is the arrangement. So from here we can have item H, okay, then we have item I, item J, okay. So in these items, we just give descriptions according to the various diameters of the reinforcement bar. Okay, so in this case we can talk about T8. T8 simply means diameter. These are bar sizes of 8 millimeters in diameters. So T8 bars. Then we can go to the next. Okay, you normally categorize according to what we have, according to what we measured, and from the other side, from what we measured in the previous sessions, we could see there is a 8 millimeter diameter reinforcement bar. Then there is also T12 bars. Then we also have T16 bars. And also never forget that here we also get to learn how to make our proper edits of the bills of quantities. So whenever you are in this position, then you can always do you can always insert. Okay, you can always insert another row, so that you are able to continue with that element that you are adding to your Excel sheet. Okay, so you simply highlight, then copy. Okay, so you can either copy that or you insert totally a new column altogether. Okay, but in this case I've copied the one that we've done. And then now I want to insert it. So once you've copied, then in that case insert copied cells. Okay, you copy, then you right click, then insert copied cell. So once you've inserted the copied cell, it's going to give you the same item that you've copied from the previous part, but then now you can edit it. And remember, to the side is where we have our calculations. Okay, so when you have our calculation there, then it's a possibility that you are going to have a replication of the other items, including the figures, which can give you some misleading items. So you do what I've just done, you keep highlighting it, and then you now unhighlight part of this with the one that you need. Okay, thereafter you can delete the rest of the parts to the side, so that you don't have the items coming up twice, which is going to give you misleading figures. Yes, so once that is done, I've just deleted the part of it that was copied again for the second time, and then now we continue with our description. So this is a T20. From T16 you go to T20 bars, and I believe the largest or the biggest, the one with the biggest diameter here was T25. So I also include the T25 bars here. So this is L, this is M. Alright, so once I have that, of course I don't need these ones to be in bold, so I can always just edit them to be of ordinary font. Okay, of course you can always wish to have a complete description of your steel reinforcement here. Alright, yeah, because remember we are doing this step by step to completion, from the start to completion. So assuming that you don't have any other idea, you don't have another template of a bills of quantities, but you are now making this on your own. Okay, so you can talk about steel reinforcement bars, including spacers and so on. Okay, so that is just a sample of a description that you might wish to have, but of course it can be more comprehensive than that, depending on how many items that you can have, including spacers and so on. So all those you need to take into consideration. So once you have that, then I'll just have another smaller table. Let me just see the part where it's ending. It's ending somewhere here. So what I need, let me just also expand my working a bit, and then once I've done that, then I just want to have a table here. So this is T8 bars, then this is now T10, T12, then T16, T20, and T25. Okay, so once I have that, then now this is now the assorted weights. Okay, you don't need to write so much items at the side, but then now I'm start with bar T8. So I get back to where I started the reinforcement bars. Okay, so that I see all the kgs of T8 and so on. So I'm starting with the column. So from the column side, or the first portion is just concrete. Okay. Then this is now beam schedule. I want to get to where the steel reinforcement is starting. Alright, so it looks to be on this side. So the first one are reinforcement to superstructure columns. Okay, so at the column side, I want just to see where we have this is T16, T12, T8. So the T8, the kgs for the T8 is supposed to be that one. So you click on that, then plus sign, okay, equal to, then the first cell to be added is that, then plus, and I'll go to, that is column is complete. I'll go to the next. After the columns, I'm supposed to see the next element, and that is definitely beams. Now this is a staircase to reinforcement to staircase. So the next is beam reinforcement, then T8, this is the weight, then plus. So after the beams, of course, I go to the staircase, and the staircase is here. For the staircase, let's see what we have. They are spread quite across, so I'll start with the first one, T8, and then plus. Just be keen on each and every item so that you don't overlook or you don't omit any of the reinforcement steel that you're supposed to add to a given part. Then the next one is supposed to be this one, that one there, then plus. Okay, the staircase is complete, reinforcement to staircase is complete. Then I go to reinforcement to suspended floor slab. At the floor slab, the very first one is supposed to be, let me see, this one here. This is the first T8. Alright, so I've noticed something. So what I'll do, I'll add to the side, because you remember we were doing a high story building, and in the previous items it was a product of for one floor times 5 floors. Okay, so in this case, just noticing that I did not add, or I did not multiply the reinforcement steel quantity for one floor times the number of floors. Okay, so the one that I have here for one floor, I'm going to multiply that times 5. Okay, so what happens once I've done for this, okay, I'm just going to reference the cells to the side, and of course I'm supposed to, at that point, I'm now going to multiply by the number of floors. Okay, so the cell reference is going to remain the same. Okay, then the next, I'm going to add this one, then I'm going to add this one here, then after that I add let me see, I'm going to add this one at the second last. Okay, alright, then let's see which one is next. That is suspended floor slab. From the slab, they are complete. So we have column, we have beams, we have staircase, and then we have suspended floor slab. So that is the end of it. So when you enter, let's see, I'll say there is a problem in the formula. Okay, so I need to remove that. So the only thing that I need to adjust here is this is a suspended slab. The reinforcement was for one floor, so I'll take the quantity for one floor times 5, because it was a 5-story building. So that times 5, and then I drag the same to the rest of the items. Okay, so once I have that, the formula that I've already put in place for T8 reinforcement bars, it just updates on its own. Okay, then I'll go to T10. T10, I'll check if the columns is having anything to do with T10. At the column level there is no T10. Then I go to the next is supposed to be beams. At the beam reinforcement, do we have let's see if we have just checking. Just checking if we have T10. I'm checking here, there is none. To the floor slab, of course, there are T10s. So the first one is this. Then I add this one here. Then I add that one there. So the T10 for the slab is complete. Let me see at the staircase. At the staircase, we didn't have the T10s, so that's fine. All right. Also noticed that there are some T8s which I missed from the columns. Let me check. Superstructure columns. This was C1 only. Then we have C2, C2. So at the C2 there is this T8 which I left out. That is the beauty of arranging your work so that it's always easy for you to trace whenever you've missed out any item. Then C3 T8 is also here. Okay, so in that case it's easier to update every item or every error or omission that you have done in the previous work. Then I'll go to T12. As usual, check from the columns. Check from the columns what you have at the column level. So T12, the first one is here. I take that. Okay, then get to C2. C2 there is none. C2 I can't see. C3 as well. So at the beam we have a T12 here. I'll need to add that. Then at the staircase, let's see if we have T12. There is that one for the first T12. Then there is this one as well, and then there is this third one as well. Let me see, there is another one here, T12, quite a number. Then there is this one as well. Alright, so we have added all that. This is T8. The one at 40 is supposed to be T8. Yes, so I can remove that. I only need the T12s. Yeah, so I see there is also that one there. Alright, then plus, after the staircase, move to the next item, and that is now suspended slab, if at all there is any T12, and there is none. Okay, so that is complete, equal sign. Then T16, just press equal, then go to the columns, just assort them properly so that you don't miss any item. So T16 there is at the C1, so we take that. Then we add another C2. T16 is here. Then another T16 is here. Then you go to beam reinforcement. So at the beam level there is this one here, reinforcement to see staircase. T16 there is none. At the slab there is none, so that is complete. Then I go on T20, equal sign. I start with this with the columns. T20 there is, we have the first one here. C2 there is none. C3 there is none. At the beam there is none. At the staircase there is none. Floor slab as well, there is none. So that is the end of that. Then I go to T25. T25 From the columns, you could just cross check so that you don't miss on any item. There is none here. Beam reinforcement, there is none. Staircase, there is none. Suspended floor slab, we also don't have any. Okay, so that is the end of it. So once you've assorted your steel reinforcement according to the diameter, then it's now when you enter into the bills of quantities according to the diameters that you have. So as usual, state the unit of all the items that you're always entering, and the last one is here. So you can comfortably delete this part because it doesn't have what you need. Then T8, now you enter. T8 is 2127 kgs. Then T10 is 829 kgs. Then T12 is 2745, and then T16 is 5261 kgs, and then T20 is 738. You always round it up to 0 decimals or to the nearest whole number. And of course, once you've assorted your kgs as I've done there, then you'll be having to input your rates, and that bills in that part is complete as it looks. Then straight away after we've assorted our steel reinforcement bars, then the next part, because normally concrete work is done in a category that is including concrete in itself. We have the reinforcement steel as well, and we also include formwork. So all that is associated with the steel, concrete, is done under one category. Okay, they are all done under one category of concrete. So that is why the next item we are doing here is the formwork. Okay, so as usual, you can see that this is closed, but then I just need to include insert, so I can always maybe copy this. Okay, so once you've copied, then you insert to where you need it. As usual, because we've done calculations to the side, always remember that you need to delete the items that are going to be appearing twice, so that whenever you will be cross-checking later on your work, you don't have compromised figures. You don't have compromised figures. So this is a sewn formwork, or you can talk about marine board formwork and so on. So it's basically you just talking about formwork, measuring formwork to various elements. So as usual, I always prefer that you become very procedural with your work. Okay, from the way you started, you always keep that format. It's easier for reference purposes, and it's also easier for whoever is going through your work later on. Okay, so what I'm talking about is that from the concrete part, what did you start with? Okay, and how does it go? Since we started with the columns, it's always important that we continue, or we start our formwork also with the columns. Okay, so we talk about formwork to vertical sides of columns. Okay, so that becomes our first item. Okay, of course I need to delete these other ones that I copied here, because these are now new items. So once I've done that, and then the unit here is square meters. Okay, so for the square meters, I can confidently copy it on the other cells, and of course your annotation or your IDs of the items continues. So this is M O P can talk about the Q. So formwork the vertical sides of columns. How do you go about that? It needs to be done in square meters. Okay, so what matters is how do you get that square meters for your columns, and that is why at the side we are always it's always provided for us to manage to do our calculations. So we go to the column because we had done concrete to the columns. Now we are not going to start afresh in looking into details of how to get the dimensions and so on. So go back to your column schedule, which for my new viewers, column schedule simply states the columns that you have in the plan according to the sizes. For example, what I'm presenting here, simply an ID, identification of the column, and the size of that given column, and also number of them, height, and so on. Because that column schedule simply puts what you've interpreted from the plan, okay, into now the Excel, into form that you can be able to use easily, and it's going to help you in what you are doing. So I want to put columns formwork here to the side. Okay, so what you need when you're calculating the formwork to the size of the columns, what you need, the item that you need are a number of them, and one of them, all of them actually have been listed as the column schedule. Okay, because you need the area, you remember that the column, it's measured in square meters, and the girth of it is at the sides, external faces of the columns. So what you'll need what we call the girth. Okay, girth is basically the perimeter of that column, the distance all around it. Okay, so how do you get that? The basic formula of getting, for instance, this is now column 1, the size is 0.5 and 0.2, so you'll add the two sides. Okay, of course you bracket and multiply by 2, just the way you'll find a perimeter of a rectangle, because that is the shape anyway. Okay, so once you have the girth, and then you now assort what we call the height, because we are dealing with multi-story building and we decided that we are assorting all the calculations in one place. Therefore, the right way or the best way is to add all the heights of the columns that you have. You assort them all together. If I told you are dealing with just one story, then just get the story of that very column, the height of that column. Okay, and it's the same height that you use in calculation of concrete to the reinforcement. I mean the concrete of that column, so that you don't do you don't get those dimensions twice. Whatever that you used when you're calculating them, the concrete in the previous, that what we learned in the previous video, is also what you use now in your calculations for the formwork. So for the height, okay, the first ground floor, the height is 3 meters, so you'll add that. Okay, this is now the first floor, then this is the second, simply adding them, this is the third, and then this is the fourth, and this is the fifth. Okay, actually third, fourth, fifth, it doesn't have the fifth, but I'll include it because now in the subsequent columns I'm not going to come back to write the formula. I'll just drag the formula that I've indicated so that it applies for the rest of the items, even those with the fifth floor. So the total height is 18 meters. Okay, now the area, this is what we need now, whatever you're going to enter in our bills of quantities. It is therefore just the girth, which is now the total perimeter of the formwork, times the height. I've done the total height. Okay, so these other ones are similar. Okay, because when I check here, they are all 500 by 200. So once I have that, the total height, I'll just copy that formula. Whenever you copy the formula, it's going to automatically, it's going to automatically move the formula to the next cells. Okay, and in this case you can see the heights are indicated properly, so it means it's okay. Then I'll also drag that formula down there. Then I'll get now the total of all the areas that I've done. Just copy that, equal to, now the total is coming to 84 square meters. So that is what we need for our area of the formwork to the column sides, 84 square meters. Okay, as just to reiterate what I mentioned previously, you continue with the same format. So the next one is going to be formwork to the beams. Okay, so normally we do formwork to sides and soffits. Formwork to sides and soffits of beams. Okay, soffit is now the beneath the beam, whatever is going to hold the concrete that is forming the beam itself. Okay, and then of course the sides of it on either part of it. That is also done in square meters. So as usual, go back to where you measured your concrete to the beams. Okay, once you get that, here example, this is now the beam schedule, where I got identification of my beams, the sizes, numbers, length, okay, total length, and so on. Because I need it in square meters, I'll maintain the same procedure, or the same step that I used to do the previous items. That is now formwork to the columns. And what I mean is, because I need it in square meters, I'll simply get the girth, which include the sides of the beam. Okay, sides of the beam, and then to the under of it. Okay, so some of these items or some of these procedures that I'm talking about, they're going to be shown typically or in real time, some of them being done, so that you are also able to enhance your understanding of what I've explained theoretically. So for the beam schedule, the one that I have here, simply read as it was read on the plan. Okay, so what I need to do is to get the girth, assort the girth well, and then I get the total length. So let's see if we have anywhere where we got the total length together. I can see one here. This was just this is a summation of the lengths. Okay, then once you've ascertained that, then it's important that you see, because the beam that we are measuring it from below the slab level. Okay, that said, so from the below the side the slab level, the sides are 300 by 200, and they are all the same. Okay, 300 by 200. Of course, I mentioned that this one that is indicating 400 by 150 isn't having any additional concrete for that beam, because the 150 is within the slab, so it's ideally it's a beam because by the virtue of additional reinforcement, but not because of concrete in it. Okay, that said, so we all have all our reinforcements, all our beams are 300 by 200. Okay, from below the slab level. We have the total length here. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just state here formwork to sides. Okay, can just state it in brief. So this is formwork to beams. So what I'll have here, total length is this. Okay, so first of all, I'll calculate the girth of the perimeter, and these I'm going to do the sides. What is the size? It's 300. Multiply, you multiply that by, or rather, the side is always times 2. Okay, and then you add the soffit. Side times 2 plus the soffit. Okay, so once you have that, and then the length, total length, just as it was done here. I'll just replicate this equal to that. So for me to get the area is equals to the total length times the total girth of 1. Okay, so let me just confirm if this was including all the ones that I needed. Let me just see. This is the concrete. Okay. Yes, so this is for one floor. So once you have the area for one floor, then we had typical beams on all the floors. Okay, so we'll take the area that you've calculated for one floor times the number of floors that you have. How many are they? They are 5 floors. So you multiply that times 5, you get 413 square meters. Okay, so formwork to the sides and soffits of beams is 413 square meters. So that is basically the process of how to easily get your areas to vertical sides of columns and also to the sides and soffits of the beams. So that is what you need to always follow whenever you need to calculate your areas in those elements. So that is the end of our coverage in this very session. Of course, when we meet next, in our next session, we'll cover the formwork to sides of columns, to the soffits of staircases, also to the soffits of slabs and the edges as well. So from there, then we'll continue with the rest of the items that we are always that we need to cover in these very sessions. Thank you very much. If you find this helpful, kindly like, share, and comment that you liked it. Okay, share so that it reaches many people who are also in need of learning from this content. Do me that favor so that this channel also grows and you also help a number of other people who might also find it very helpful. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe as well so that it grows and it continues to give knowledge to many other people who need it. Thank you very much for being here, watching up to this point, and I believe that it was worthwhile. It will enable you grow, it will enable you learn in various aspects that you so desire. Have a great time till we meet again in our next upcoming session. Have a great time. Bye bye.